Right. Up next, we have someone very, very special and especially extremely special for District 41, Dr. Reet Arora. She is a TEDx speaker and a corporate trainer for the last 18 years, a periodontist by education and one of the cutest dentists I've seen, and a Toastmaster by passion. She has won numerous laurels for her profession and passions, both at national and international levels. She has trained over 10,000 people in various fields across domains. A Toastmaster since 2000-2001, she has played almost every role at club and district levels and was the district governor for District 41 for the year 2014 and 15. A DTM 5 times over. She will talk about her journey from a learner to a trainer.
Before we have you on stage, Dr. Reet, can I have you on stage and Akansha?
Akansha.
Can we have you on stage for a moment, please? Can we give a loud round of applause again for Akansha? Thank you, Felicita, for the token of appreciation on our side. Thank you. Now we would also like to invite DTM Vinay Jain to come on the stage for a moment, please.
I was 3 years old, and like most of you have ambitions, I had an ambition. I wanted to be a chowkidar. I kid you not, they were the only ones who did not have a bedtime. On that note, I'm sure, how many of you have seen Three Idiots? How many of you remember that song? My favorite?
Ali, Joel.
The other one. Give me some sunshine.
Give me some rain.
Give me another chance. I want to grow up once again. How many of us want to go back to our childhood? How many of us have regrets in life? How many of us wished we had done something else? Right. So I was 3 years old and I wanted to be a chowkidar, and my parents were like, well, is that an ambition? I was 3 years old when I walked out to the garden one day. We had this huge garden, you know, big lawns and stuff. And I looked up at the stars and I felt small and insignificant. And I came back and cried. And my dad came from the factory and he said, what's wrong? And I was my dad's princess. And I said, I feel small and insignificant. So he took me out and he said, that place, what do you see? I said, nothing, there are no stars there. He said, that's a place reserved for you. You have to earn your way to that place. Nobody can take it from you. Now, how many of you want to be trainers? Lovely. Thank you. You made my day. So when I went to dental school, that's where I did my graduation. When I went to dental school, I had a roommate. And this roommate was from Punjab. And her father sent her a letter which says, And I narrate this today because somebody said, how many of you wanted to fail? Or how many of you thought it was okay to fail? How many of your parents said it was okay to fail? So this letter said, Beta, pame 3-4 saal hor lag jaan. Pakki doctor ban ke nikli. And for the non-Punjabi speaking people, you may take 4 extra years to do your BDS. BDS is only 4 years of a course. Take 4 extra years, but you must be a proper BDS before you graduate. So, what is proper? You know, when I went for my master's, it took me 3 years to do my master's. And for those of you who do not know what a periodontist is, if you just smile, look at the partner you have, see his or her smile, and you look at that little white tooth and the little pink gum below that. Not the skin, but the gum, that 2 millimeter of a gum, that is what I post-graduated in. So one of my best friends asked me, so what did they do? First day they tell you, okay, this is how you floss and here's your degree. Yes, unfortunately that's not the case. But the point that I'm trying to make is, I have entered Toastmasters and I want to be a trainer today or tomorrow. How many of us believe that that is going to happen? Trust me, it's not. Unfortunately, we all enter Toastmasters because we want to be trainers. Some of us enter because we want to be trainers. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, if they say there's one formula for success, it is practice, practice, and practice. But most of us go with this one phrase, the 3 magical words. I know that. And this is the problem most trainers face. I know that. What is she talking about? I know all this. Okay. So, before we get on to the dynamics of what we're going to cover today, let me request you to do one simple thing. And there's only one ground rule. Usually when I do a training or when I do a speech, I say, if you have a question, raise your hand and I'll come to you. Here, we do it slightly differently. The only person asking questions is going to be me. And if you have a question, please park it. Park it, and if it is not answered by the end of the session, I'm available after the session. We will sit and have a one-to-one. Is that okay with everyone? Yes. Thank you. You'll have to be a little louder. I'm deaf in my left ear. Yes. Thank you. They were telling me you have to speak after lunch, and I said, you give me a graveyard shift and I'll fill it up with corpses. So yeah, okay, we're there. Now, the first thing I want you to do is remove that from your vocabulary. I know that. Just remove. From a shy girl who would not want to say hello to people, to a person who was up on stage and speaking, when I entered Toastmasters, I thought I was the cat's whiskers. And I went to Toastmasters and I'm like, oh my God. There was so much to learn, and so much to do, and so much to know. Every step that I accomplished was because I had people like you to help me, my Toastmasters family. So take a bow, have a round of applause for yourselves. It's you who made me who I am today. Now, I entered Toastmasters because I was pretty jobless. When I was right when he said, you know, there are people who have nothing better to do, and I didn't. You know, this gentleman who called me in the morning and he said, check her out. I wish somebody had done that when I was still a student. Because at that point of time, I had nothing to do on weekends. I did not have a boyfriend, and I was pretty jobless. So I said, okay, let me get into something that will occupy some of my time. So I would go and do these funny courses, you know, aromatherapy, feng shui, tarot reading, whatever I could find happening in Bangalore was happening to me. Because I would go enroll for it, and one day I came across something to do with personality. And I said, well, that sounds like fun. Well, let me speak maybe. I went there and I had a lot of fun. And at the end of the thing, the trainer said, I'm having this course next week, so those of you who want to come for the advanced course, nothing to do, remember? The next week I was there. 1 week later he was having something else. 2 weeks later he was having something else. And as it continued, I just kept going and he said, what's your motivation? I'm jobless. And I have fun when I'm here. So he said, okay, why don't you come with me? I'm going for this course. Why don't you also come along? And as a girl of 18, I thought it was a good ride. So I called up my mentor in Toastmasters and I said, well, this course is happening. What do you think? Should I go for it? And he asked me this one question. What have you got to lose? I said, nothing. Okay, go have fun. So off I went to have fun. I came back and then we had these impromptu contests, which was an all-Bangalore contest, got Quicksilver. And I went and I said, okay, let me go see how things are happening. So I went there, I sat down and somebody said, why don't you register? Why don't you also take part? And I was like, me? You guys are veterans. I'm just a newbie, I'm an 18-year-old girl. Now don't back calculate, even if I say it was 17 years ago or 18 years ago, don't back calculate because I'm not giving you my age. I'm still 16 for the records. But yes, so I called up my mentor and I said, they're telling me to participate. What do you think I should do? And he had that same one question. What have you got to lose? I said, nothing. So go ahead, have fun. So I went ahead, had fun, won that. And as I kept winning and as I kept talking, what I realized was I was having fun talking. And at that point of time, I was learning tricks of trade that would help me talk. So when I went to do my masters in Chennai, while I used to do my presentations, that talking helped me, or that stint with Toastmasters helped me. Whatever I did, I poured in whatever I knew, added it together and presented it there. And national and international awards for research, for clinicals, for implants, that was partly due to the skill and also largely due to the fact that I could present it. How you use what you know, where you use what you know, and whether you use what you know or you don't is entirely up to you. The point I'm trying to make is, as I was going to these places with this so-called mentor of mine, or rather this person who was the trainer, he said, one day he said, okay, why don't you take a game for them? And I said, okay, I'm having fun. A few days later he said, why don't you do a 1-hour session for them? And I said, okay, I'm having fun. A few months later he said, why don't you do a 4-hour session for them? And I said, okay, I'm having fun. And one time he said, why don't you do the full session for them? And I said, okay, I'm having fun. 2 years later he said, these are now your clients. Excuse me? He said, I'm moving to bigger game, they're your clients. My claim to fame is I still have those clients. It's not about what you do, but how much you put in that makes a difference. How much are you putting in to become a trainer? I saw a lot of hands going up saying, we want to be trainers. Okay, great. How much are you putting in? How many hours a day? Anyone who can give me an answer to that? How many hours a day are you putting in to be a trainer? You wanted to be a trainer, remember? Alright, so, for the trainers in the room, this is absolutely Maslow's theory of self-actualization and needs. Now, the problem with most of us is, we come to Toastmasters, where we are praised for everything we do, and we think we are trainers. Unfortunate, but true. And when we go out in the real world, people who are going to pay us for it, they're not Toastmasters. They're people who are paying us for what we do. So obviously, they see it with a critical eye. Now, you remember people saying in this morning, people who use too much PowerPoint have neither the power nor a point. Or, I do use PowerPoint or I don't use PowerPoint. Now, here's the fun part. When you're sitting in the audience, and this is something nobody will tell you. When you're sitting in the audience, there are a few things that you can do. One is, obviously, if the lights are dim, the condition's nice, you've had a great lunch, you can do what Smita's doing. Right? Like I said, I'll fill it up with corpses if this is the graveyard shift that you give me. The other thing that you can do is be a critic. How many times in your life do you get to be a critic? This is what is wrong with the presentation. Or this is how you could improve it. Or this is what Reet could have done better. There are a few other things also that you can do. You know, occasionally nod like you're nodding. What's your name, sir? The one sitting next to Amelia? What's your name, sir? Sorry? I didn't get it. Savan, okay. Like Savan's nodding, keep nodding. You know, neck exercises are good for health. Occasionally, you could also read up about the presentation if you have it in advance and go there, you know, prepared like the best person so that when the presenter is stumped, you give the answers. You appear nice and intelligent. Well, depending on what you want to do, that is from the point of view of a listener. But as a trainer, what do you do? Now, how many of us have thought of quitting our jobs because we want to become trainers because somebody told us we have the ability? My friend, unless you have a sustainable business to support you, do not quit your job. Because you know, everything looks hunky-dory from the outside world. We are praised for what we do in Toastmasters. And we quit our jobs thinking we've got it made, and then we go into the market and nobody pays us. Hard truth of life. So, follow your heart is all nice and rosy, and when people ask me, what have you done in life? And I say, I did my master's and then I opened a training institute and I'm following my heart. Remember, I have something to fall back on. If you're in a corporate job, what will you fall back on? Because the first and basic thing is food, water, warmth, and rest. That's your basic need. If you do not have food, trust me, following your heart is not going to work. I love you is all fine and hunky-dory, but if you have to sleep in the middle of December under a cold roof, it becomes a little difficult. So, have a sustainable source of income before you decide to become a trainer. Again, it may or may not work for you. This is what worked for me, this is what works for me, and I can tell you from my experience. I'm still learning. Because for the last 18 years, every time I have met someone, I have learned something new. Find your Yoda. I was about to give my TED talk, and the person I wanted to mention was my mentor. And my mentor at that point of time was standing for an election. So I wrote to the people who were responsible for the election, and this incidentally was Toastmasters International. So I wrote to them and I said, you know, I'm the campaign manager for my mentor, and he is standing for an election, I understand, for the international, second vice president. Can I mention his name? Because it's a TED talk. And guess what they write back? You can mention you have a mentor, but do not mention his name. And I said, that's so interesting. Because that was undue publicity to him. So, I called him the Yoda. And for those of you who do not know my mentor, his name is Deepak Menon. Deepak Menon, yes, you've got that right, thank you. So, Yoda, find your Yoda. You know, when people come up to me and say, can you be my mentor? I'm like, say your prayers before you make me your mentor. 2006, I asked this man to be my mentor. And he had no idea who I was from Adam or Eve. He had just come in as an unsuspecting Toastmaster. He was a division governor in those days. And the entire North India was one division called Division C, and he was the division governor for Division C. And he was given this newbie who had come to give her icebreaker. Poor man gave me a wonderful evaluation, and I went up to him and I said, sir, can you be my mentor, please? And he said, yes, sure. So then he became my mentor, and I became his tormentor. And from that time onwards, we've shared this mentor-to-mentor relationship. The reason I'm stressing on finding your mentor, finding a mentor for yourself is very simple. A mentor can make you or break you. A mentor knows where to mentor you and where not to mentor you, or how to mentor you. And a mentor can play the role of a coach, of a mentor, and of a co-mentor. I am usually the third one. So when you say, can you be my mentor? I'm like, say your prayers before you meet me. Trust me when I say this. About 4 years ago, this gentleman walked into my office. He had won the area contest, is a current division director, so I will not name him per se. But he had just won an area contest and he said, I'm going to the division with this speech. What do you think? And I said, let me see the speech. So I saw the speech and it went into the bin. I had this little bin in my clinic and it went into the bin. I'm not kidding you. And I said, please make a new speech. Depending on what you want to learn. Remember, everybody cannot be good at everything. 7 years ago, not 7, about 10 years ago if you had met me, I used to have this high-pitched voice and every time I spoke a little too loudly, I would go into shrills. And my mentor said, do something about your voice, please. Don't go changing your voice box, but do something about your voice, please. Now, a mentor has to be able to recognize your shortcomings. I could have gone on with that high-pitched voice and been nowhere. If a mentor can recognize your points of improvement and help you improve them, that is the right mentor for you. You know, there are often in class it happens that you have mentees who are probably better at one aspect and they're given mentors who are not so good at that aspect. Find out what that mentee is there for. If it's that same aspect the mentee needs to develop, change the mentor. If it's a different aspect, perhaps the mentor is right for the mentee. Find out what the mentee needs before you take on mentoring. Find out what kind of mentor you need before you select a mentor to mentor you. Because if you're looking at going into the training track, find somebody who's been there, done that. That's not going to happen. How many people do you think said that to Edison when he said, I want to make the light bulb glow? Everybody he met. And if he had a mentor who had told him, no, it will happen, probably we would have had the glowing bulb much before that. Much before we actually had it. If a mentor has not done what you want to do, can the mentor help you achieve it? Maybe. Maybe. Patricia Tripp has never been a world champion, but she did help Darren LeCroy become a world champion. You know, my father used to say another thing. He said, work so hard that your biggest competitor, that your biggest idol, or your best idol becomes your biggest competitor. Patricia Tripp earns $2,000 an hour, and she has no dearth of work. We are small-time fish. Trainers? Yes. How much do you think trainers make? How many courses do you think trainers do? How many courses have you done? You know, there's another funny part about training, because the minute we step into Toastmasters and we do so many roles, from leadership to speaking, we think we're good at everything. Oh, now I'm a CC and I am the cat's whiskers. That is what I often thought. After completing 2 DTMs, I used to think, okay, I have it made. And every time I went on stage, the district level, and came back with a second or a third prize, I'd be like, why? Why am I losing? And this was when we used to meet at Freemasons. We used to have this woman who was with us, a lady who was a Toastmaster for less than 6 months. She and I went for a dosa just before the meeting. And she said, why do you speak? And I said, what do you mean, why do you speak? Obviously, because I want to say something, because I have something to say, because I want to try it out. She said, for the prize? I said, obviously. She said, no, but what is the purpose of giving a speech? What is the purpose of giving an evaluation? I said, to be the best in terms of evaluate. She said, that is where you're going wrong. You evaluate to help the other person improve. You speak, and if you can change one life with what you say, isn't your purpose accomplished? And that made a lot of sense to me. She said, you know, you're running all over the stage and doing a whole lot of things that sometimes people don't understand because it's not coming from here. Because when you speak from the heart listens. And that made a lot of sense to me. And that day I gave one of the best evaluations of my life. It's not about being a winner. It's not about being who X is or Y is. It's about being the best you can be to do the best for the other person. A person who is yet to do her CC, a person who was 6 months old into Toastmasters, and I was sitting there since 2000, 2001 with 2 DTMs under my belt, and this is what she taught me. Every step is a learning step. Each moment is a moment to learn. What have you learned today? As a trainer, we are told there are 3 types of people. The kinesthetic learners, the auditory learners, the visual learners. And then comes Dr. Gardner, who comes up with multiple intelligences and multiple ways people learn and how each one is a genius in his or her own terms. And you cannot judge fish by its ability to climb a tree, which is absolutely true. So if you're there and people aren't resonating with you, find out what is wrong with yourself. Because as a trainer, it's okay to fail, but it's not okay to get discouraged. Because you have to bounce back up. You have to come back and say, I will give you the best training I can. Andy Bounds comes up to stage, and before he goes up on stage, he repeats one mantra. God, give me the courage, give me the X, Y, Z, and then he says, give me the whatever it takes to make this training a success. The whatever it takes. Know your audience, which is something you're taught at Toastmasters. Make eye contact, which is something you're taught at Toastmasters. Do a whole lot of things that you're taught at Toastmasters, but do not depend only on Toastmasters to make you a trainer. Because remember, there is a long way to go. Like Robert Frost says, miles to go before you sleep. So the secret formula, Darren LaCroix says, the secret formula to winning is stage time, stage time, stage time. Okay, great. Stage time is an important part. But there is an even greater secret to winning something. And that is, anyone? Shahid? Connect with the audience? Okay, 1. Any other answer? Yes?
Express, not impress.
Express. Educate yourself. Believe yourself. Be passionate. Okay. Perseverance.
Changing the perspective of audience.
Changing the perspective. Finding your X factor. Find out what is different about you. Remember, Darren LaCroix was a stand-up comic. And that is why his comedy on stage worked very well to help him win that championship. Are you a stand-up comic? What are you? Who are you? Find your uniquely you. What makes you different? And then be the best version of yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm still learning.